only round edition of the Liquor Talk podcast for the month of November. Yes, your boy is on the Cavassier. I'm your man Victor. Of course, I got my co-captain Juggy with me, holding it down as well. How you doing, my brother?
Bro, this is my favorite time of month when the men get together and we get to talk shop. Ready for another
Yes,
round.
yes, and we got two new gentlemen coming on to the round. Both of them, I met it. I hung out with them at Afros and Audios. Got to spend a little bit of time with them. First up, we got Raphael from the White Label American Podcast, podcasting out of New York. Congratulations on 6 years of doing your podcast, man. Congratulations, big ups. I'm happy to hear it, man. We're also representing Nigeria. How you doing today, brother?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for having me here. I'm honored. It's been 3 years overdue. So hey,
Yeah.
finally made it.
Listen, yes, I know. I'm sorry for the wait. Hey, Paula feels the same way. Talk show with P. She was on recently. She feels the same way. She was like,
she,
"It's been 2 years." I'm like, "Hey, shit been happening, y'all." So
hey,
I
she my
appreciate
twin.
y'all.
We're twins. We're twins. So we carry the same energy.
Yes. However,
Hey,
I
but cheers to
appreciate.
that. Cheers to that.
Yes, cheers to that. I appreciate the patience. Thank you for bringing me on. And also, last but not least, we got the Sambaza podcast representing Kenya, holding it down out of Dallas, Texas. Holding it down for Texas. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing awesome, man. Glad to be here.
Yes, yes. All right, fellas. Since you guys are new to Liquor Talk, why don't y'all tell a little bit about your platforms? Raphael, we'll start with you. Tell people a little about the White Label American podcast.
All right. Thank you again for having me. My podcast is, for those who don't know me, I'm a story collector, I'm a storyteller, and I love hearing stories from everybody. But I began a platform to collect stories from mostly immigrants, but it's also evolved over the years to collect stories from people born in the United States, because people from America also immigrate to other places within the States and outside of America. So it's not just limited to immigrants who move to America. Immigrants also move to other countries. But I use the stories to take down artificial walls because of artificial barriers. Some don't like me saying walls. Um, but the most important thing is that the more you hear stories from people all around you, you start to see that it's all in the little details. And you grew up hearing one thing and you meet somebody and you're like, oh shit, you eat rice the same way I eat rice. What the hell, man? I thought it's only me that had rice like that, and it's only me that does this like that. It's only me that like big booty. It's only me that no, but everybody is you think you're an island unto yourself, and then you start realizing that you're not the only one that holds the wisdom in the world, or you're not the only fountain of wisdom, or you're not the only one looking for the fountain of youth. Everybody kind of has the same goals, but there's just different barriers or artificial walls has been created, be it through colonialism, slavery, or one thing that's come into life one way or the other that's kind of twisted people one way or the other. And you start being like, oh man, I didn't realize you guys. And then, oh, so if you start hearing stories, you start seeing the similarities, and maybe one story after the other, it changes the game. So I'm just adding my little contribution to the people. The species called humanity. So it's my little way of contributing to life.
That's what's up. Hey, you got a great platform. Once again, congrats on 6 years of keeping it going. Mrs. Sambaza, why don't you tell us about your platform?
Hey, representing Kenya. This is what I forgot to throw around. Usually I do that at the beginning of the podcast. Well, Sambaza podcast. Let's see. Sambaza podcast takes a little bit of what Ralph was saying here. We talk about like similarities between diasporans. Me as a diasporan, and then I'll take an African American perspective. Then we'll take an African perspective, be it somebody from any part of the continent of Africa or even Europe, and then I'll take down to somebody in Kenya. The reason why I do this is the same way Ralph says. You find people. Let's talk about food. Rice. We all eat rice. Rice is common everywhere, but the way you make rice here is not the same way you make rice in Kenya or Nigeria or you know every part of the world, but it's the same rice. So that's the basic concept of Sambaza podcast. We try to find the similarities between all of us, be it in any other subject, in any subject that we talk about, be it food, be it culture, be it in culture how we raise kids, how we interact, or when we suffer issues in society, are they the same? So I try to seek to get you to fill out a balance of what is going on. Over the years it's progressed. So right now we're doing a collaborative on with Walk by Accident, where each week we go live on Wednesdays 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let me put in that plug there. That we talk about various issues about black excellence and topics which we mix with the African perspective and the African American perspective. Right now, single podcast for me on a bit of a hold until I think I'll start in January again, where I do my project and then I combine with this other one that's on Wednesdays. So, in short, that's what Sambaza podcast is. It's just a diaspora podcast that tries to figure out, hey, we are all human, right? We spill the same blood, same color blood. I don't know if anyone spills green blood or blue blood, but I
I
guess
would
it's
hope
all the
not.
same all over the world. That's what I'm trying to, get into context with everyone.
That's so real. I want to thank you, brothers, for taking the time to share the platform and share your platforms and stuff. So let's hop right into it. What do y'all think are some of the differences between African culture and what you guys have experienced in being in America? And Jug, you can hop in as well. Talk about what you've experienced and just dealing with Black Africans and compared to African Americans.
Of course. I mean, for me, I'm so glad these brothers are on here and welcome y'all to the men's only round. It's funny because, I remember when Pan Africanism kind of got popular when I was in college, 2009, 2010. And, I started reading, books like Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Renuko Rashida, may he rest in heaven, and others. And you realize that the world is much bigger than you thought. Sometimes as, Americans, even Black Americans, we don't really realize that the world is a really big place. And like you all said, Raphael, you know, we all have similarities. And I'm glad that those similarities are finally coming to light. We have social media, we have podcasts and art mediums to use to really take a look at each other and say that we're not so much of distant relatives. They were actually fairly closely related. We might have individual personalities and characters, respectively, but we're pretty close in the end game. So I'm happy to, what I'm saying, that we're doing it this way. And I'm happy that, we're doing this on the men's only round during election season when there's so many political things at stake and how it affects, men, specifically Black men. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's definitely get into it. Because Rafi and Sambaza, what do you guys think about just live being here in America and compared to what you guys have dealt with in Nigeria and Kenya?
Let's Sambaza go first. I've been going first.
Oh, okay. Let's see. That's man. It's a huge topic, open for a
Hmm.
lot of interpretation. Um, I can say I've learned a lot in my years being in the U.S., and I've had to educate myself and re-educate myself in some things that I have carried back in the past. I'll just give you a short snippet. Right before I came here to the U.S., I watched CNN, and CNN was showing something in New Orleans happening in Mardi Gras, where some police officer was. I remember that clip. Police officer was whipping somebody on a horse. He was on a horse whipping somebody. That something had happened, a fracas in New Orleans on Mardi Gras. And I watched that. Now imagine I'm coming to the U.S. What am I thinking? What am I doing over there in what will I do over there when I get there? I have to be careful with some things that I do. Um, Another incident is this is at a gas station, but this is one where it's kind of long, but in short, there are things that happen that you learn before that when you get here, you have to unlearn yourself. Currently, I go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and that impression that I had the first time when I saw it on TV while I was in Kenya preparing to come to the US is different. I know, yes, things happen, but it's not the same as it looks like in face value. So there's that idea of having to live in some place for a while and then you understand the culture and give room for people to express themselves and then learn about them. The whole thing is, which is most important, is we have to learn about each other. Give yourself some open room to listen to the other person and the other person listens to you. Give them time, let them explain themselves and try to figure out what's the difference. So there are other stories I can tell regarding my initiation to America, but so far, it's been a wonderful journey. It's been a great journey. That's what I'll say.
That's real.
So for me, I'm also a Navy veteran, and before, like, when most people say, "Oh, I know a Nigerian," it's not somebody like me they're talking about, because I'm not from the big three tribes in Nigeria, the biggest three, and so most people haven't met somebody from my tribe, except you've met one of us. We got good numbers, but we are not like the biggest. The biggest, like, the music that's reigning right now is mostly Yoruba. Like, even from coming to America, um, even in Black Panther, it's Yoruba that's mostly in there. So everything is Yoruba that's reflective. So when most people are like, "Oh, I love Nigeria, I love Nigerian music, I love Nigerian clothing," it's not Nigerian, it's Yoruba that you love, because Yoruba is also found in Brazil, it's found in Benin Republic. It's one of the big three everybody identifies with, but there's like 299 ethnic groups that people don't identify with, and there's a big, powerful group that rarely comes out to America, but it's one of the big three. So I'm used to being a kind of minority before I even came here, and it was something that made me like look forward to coming here. Like, oh, I'm tired of being pushed down in Nigeria, because you used to being pushed down by the big three. So there were stories that you get from family members, which, look, in hindsight now, it was obvious that they were lying. And you're like, "Oh man, this guy was telling me a lie. This uncle, man, what the hell this man was telling me about?" So you're a kid and you meet this uncle, probably was deported. Now you're like, "Man, what the hell did this guy do?" But probably that person was deported, but the person would be like, "Man, when I lived in New York in the 70s, I brushed my teeth with brandy, man." And we as kids were like, "Wow, New York was that. New York was, man, I can't wait to go to New York. Gotta go to New York." My uncles had stories like that. They had stories, and and so you just be thinking that you watch Coming to America, you see that movie, and you don't understand. Movie is a movie. It's not real life. Movie is different from real life. And then there's stuff that starts to come as stories, but it's actually anti-blackness. You don't understand. There's no, sometimes people need to realize social media is social media. It's not real life. But people talk as if we've always talked like that back in the days. Families threw stuff out there, and kids that are adopting some of this language without realizing that it's a programming. You now think that you know everything. And I arrived in the United States when I was 25. So at that age, you're like, "Man, I know it. I'm good." Like, I didn't even listen. Like, the weather forecast. They told me weather forecast. I arrived 1st of November 2007. I looked at weather forecast. I didn't realize that United States doesn't abide by the rest of the world when it comes to the degrees. So I arrived in Virginia, the Dallas airport. Came out of the airport with my mom. My mom was like, "Oh, put on this jacket." I was like, "Man, that was like an old person's jacket. I gotta show this sexy body." I was much skinny too. I came out of the airport, man. That wind blew in my face. I said, "God, take me back to Nigeria. This place is too cold, man. I ain't staying here." Nope. But it's stuff like that began to changing, because you're like, "What the hell kind of cold is this? They didn't tell me this type of cold exists." What? And that's not even winter. It's just the cold, the first cold wind that I faced. But that's the beginning of the programming. And then one good thing that happened to me was I went to basic training. When I went to basic training, you sleep in the same room with 80 dudes from all over the country, from Alaska, from South Carolina. And you're like, man, why you talk like that? Because I'm getting questions like, my English now has been more Americanized, because then my English was more British. So there are people asking me, man, why do you speak English like that? I'm like, what the hell? I'm speaking English. Why don't you speak English? And I'm like, I thought you in America. You're having that argument. Today on social media, you will hear people saying the African booty scratcher and all that stuff. Some of that conflict, people are not honest about how the conflict began. Because back then, I'm going against somebody like, why are you talking to me like that? I'm speaking English. Why are you not speaking English? It's two people who have not met each other before, instead of saying, hi, my name is Raphael. Everybody has called me Raphael, but now you're calling me Raphael. Why you call me Raphael? I'm not Spanish. It's just, can you guys calm down and just two men have a conversation? No, everybody want to be, I'm the boss. And we just charging at each other for no reason except egos. By the time we found, because we have no choice but to stay in that room, and we're all trying to pass the training, everybody's egos had to be brought down. And I'm like, okay, I have to learn now. Where you from, man? South Carolina. Oh. And that's how I began to collect stories, and people started collecting stories from me. And then the ones who I'm like, okay, you're on a different level of crazy, because you got that, you don't have respect for me. I ain't gonna talk to you. Fuck out of here. So I'm sorry, can I cuss? Yeah, I forgot to ask from the beginning. So
yes,
okay, okay.
You good.
So yeah, so that helped me with that barrier. And some of the programming that I came with, I started like, oh, I didn't know everything. I can't know everything. What I thought I knew about, even people who were Asian, I was like, oh, the guy Asian, like, how can you be Asian and you're from Alaska? So if I'm already making the wrong assumption of somebody from Alaska, how will I not get it wrong about a black person from Georgia? How will I not get it wrong about a black person from Texas or New York? So I was getting it wrong about everybody. But if you cannot admit that you were wrong, the clash will continue. So I had to admit that I was wrong, and I had to accept that I need to ask questions. Okay, where are you from, man? What is it like? Where are you from? And those who showed me the respect was reciprocal, then we could take it up from there. And from there, relationships began. And today, I have some of the friends that I have to this day. That's where it began. And of course, you make enemies. I don't even call them enemies, because they got to respect me for you to even be my enemy. But there's no respect for some of them. It's fine. Life goes on. But that began, and it changed the game. And I rewired my programming going forward. So when some of the BS will happen later on, did I make mistakes? Yes. I still made mistakes going forward. But I think now the person you get today, it was easier for me to make that journey to the person that you get today. And I can show grace for people who are still at that, oh, black people don't want to talk to me because I'm African. And having that, I'm like, yeah, I get it. You're here, you've been here for 30 years, but you don't have any black friend. Why don't you have a black friend? Where the black people don't like Africans. How do you know they don't like Africans? Did you ask a black person why they don't like Africans? Yeah, so sometimes you just ask the simple question. It's not like you don't charge at the person like, God damn, how dare you? You just ask the simple question like, why? If black people you have a black person at work, have you said hi to the person? And the person just say, oh, you're African, and run away. Did that happen? Sometimes you just ask a simple question like, why? So I asked my if I meet a fellow Nigerian because they say the tribal thing is still here, the big tribal folks, they meet me, they're like, oh, you're not one of us. They still do that stuff. Yeah, it's like the Indian caste system. Caste is the number one thing, by the way. It's still above racism. It's something we don't talk about, but it's like, oh, you're not from my tribe? Yeah, I'm going to push you down. So even here, we still do it. So it's something that When people think it's the Africans against African Americans, people don't know that there's still the fights going on within different communities about yeah, you're from a smaller tribe back home. I can still oppress you here. So when there are some who like, I don't want to play by that rule and I want to talk to you, and they finally talk, and I'm like, hey, so I'm gonna hang out with some friends. You want to come? And they're like, which friends? I'm like, oh, there's some my friends. They're black. Ah, you have black friends? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, and I'm like, well, why are you flinching? Why are you afraid? They're not gonna bite you. Come, you know. And that's how some have gotten friends. But there's that stories that you've been told. And one last thing I'll end with is that, you know, I don't know how this happened, how people seem to forget. Like when I was a kid in what we call junior secondary, which is our junior high, junior school. Back in the days, you know, the generation before me or the 2 generations before me, they used to do pen pals. You know, they wrote letters and they were encouraged in school. You write letters, you send it overseas to schools, and then kids who want to reply from different parts of the world will reply. And that's one way to improve English. And do you know that there were some people who that's how they found friends, including black people from diaspora became friends, and that's how some black people from America visited Nigeria. And there was no internet. And I remember, because as a kid, you saw some of that, it made it to the news. And on the internet today, you don't see those type of conversations. I'm like, but I remember seeing it on the news. And why weren't this writing back, you damn African, whatever? Well, you damn this, all these things is BS. Because if you want it to be BS, it can be BS. But if we want to, they beat all the noise. The artificial wall didn't exist then. People were writing back and forth. It would take 3 weeks for the letter to arrive. I guess they had to sail it through the boat or whatever. I don't know. But it took that long. So, yeah, we beat the noise before. We can beat it again. It's just, you know, people rather focus on the noise than what we've done in the past.
That seems like a common issue everywhere, no matter where you go. They always want to focus on the noise. They want to focus on the bullshit instead of focusing on the progress that's been made. And also, thank you for sharing that wonderful story, Raphael, because it's amazing how on things. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Liquor Talk Podcast. The more you drink, the better we sound. So get that liquor pulled up if you haven't done so already. Juggy, I gotta come to you this way, man, because I don't know if y'all experienced it. Politics has been going on this month, and by the time this episode, we have elected a new president. But anyway, why the hell do they spend so much time trying to get the black vote, and they're doing a bad job of it? What do you think, Juggy?
This is a layered question, and I'll do my best just to kind of keep it short. So, about less than 30% of the American black population is registered to vote. However, there's still enough people who are black that are registered to vote that can impact pretty much every election, whether it's local, state, or federal. So what happens is American black people, and with respect to my 2 brothers sitting here, so with American black, you know, we have churches is a big part of the community, although it's by no means the only place. They go to barbershops. They might have a black celebrity like Beyonce. You saw her at the rally for Kamala Harris the other day. And so what happens is they do need our vote, especially black women. More black women are registered to vote than black men. And so what happens is these political parties basically need to pander. You know, sometimes you'll see rappers like I know Waka Flocka Flame. You know, he came out and said he's 100% supportive for Donald Trump. He don't want anybody to try to change his opinion. Anybody that don't like him can unfollow him or not be friends with him, right? What they need is your vote. And I want to tell people this, and this is something for the guys, and Vic, you know, I've been preaching this since we started doing Men's Only Round and before, for over a decade. Voting represents power, right? So think of the collective black vote. When we were younger, we all used to watch Dragon Ball Z. A lot of people remember the first time Goku went Super Saiyan. And so politically, to make an analogy, politically, when we all vote, and when I say we, I mean black people, when we all vote, it's like going Super Saiyan. We're using our power to put somebody in there to represent our interests, represent our needs, wherever we live at across the country. And, when it comes to this presidential election, it's not that both of the candidates are the best candidates in the world. You have, a mob figure level bad guy in Trump and a corporate Democrat, in Kamala Harris, who happens to be good with relating to people in person, but she may not be the best speech giver like Barack Obama was. And so now we're looking at a linchpin because, if Donald Trump gets elected, he wants to do away basically with democracy. He wants to suspend the Constitution, make the police immune. He wants to have an autocratic state. He wants to be like Putin and Kim Jong-un. He's literally said these things in his rallies. He said he admires Putin. He said he admires his great friend Kim Jong-un, right? And so there's no such thing as the lesser of two evils. And with respect to our Middle Eastern Palestinian brothers and sisters who are experiencing genocide, and black people know very, very well exactly what that feels like. And neither of these candidates are going to remedy that situation. We have to realize how much is on the line. Now, you could say, I don't care about politics. I don't like politics. I'm not a political person. From the time you're born, everything you do is affected by politics. When you're born, they give you a birth certificate and a social security number. That's politics. When you need to go to school, you have to learn a curriculum. It has to be funded. That's politics. When you want to buy a car, you got to get a license and you got to get insurance. That's politics and capitalism, but they're both intertwined together. When you want to start a business, you got to go to the county office. That's politics. When you want to buy a house, you have to go through a very special process that's extremely difficult for African Americans or people who present an African phenotype. That's politics. So every single part of your life, from how much gets taken out of your paycheck to how much you get paid to having PTO and everything in between, is affected by these people who always wear suits and they always text you a million texts. Every time there's election season, oh, we need this, we need to donate $5. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, is putting hundreds of $millions into one of the presidential candidates' campaign. Illegally, I might add. Right?
Yeah.
What we need to see as a group, and this is especially important for black men, because black men under the age of 35 do not vote in significant numbers. But if they did, and this includes both of my younger blood brothers, if they did, and we realize and actualize the power that we have inside, and we put that in the form of a ballot that our, ancestors, really, my parents and grandparents, fought, bled over, got their private parts bitten off, slapped beside the head, thrown in ditches, never to be found again. They died so that we could use this power, use our voice to try to create a more perfect union, right? Because it's clearly not perfect. I think all of us can agree on that.
I agree.
Right.
And so what we have, if you haven't voted, right, and you have the opportunity, tomorrow is the last day for early voting. And of course, Super Tuesday is on Tuesday. Every 4 years, they say this is the most important election of our lifetime. Listen, I've been following politics. I was groomed and matriculated through the system here in Florida to learn how the legislature works and lobbyists works and the judicial system works and law enforcement and so on. I can tell you, this is possible. One of the candidates has said, Donald Trump has said, if you vote for me in this election, I'll make sure you never have to vote again. I just need you one more time to vote. And so as Americans, we've never had a foreign country drop bombs on our head like we've done other countries. We've never had people invade our land. They think that the immigrants, quote unquote, are invading us, but they really haven't seen anything and really haven't experienced anything, even though we have an obsession with firearms. We haven't experienced that. But I can tell you something with a certain level of acuity based on what's going on around the world. who we elect not only affects us, but it affects everybody else. Yep. And if you choose not to use your voice, by doing so, you are speaking very loudly that you do not care about yourself, you do not care about your community, and clearly you don't care about the rest of the world, because when I tell you, in unfortunately bad ways, we affect everything going on across the globe, be it good or bad. The fact that all four of us are speaking English and two of the brothers here are from, African countries respectively, speaks to how pervasive America is to the entire world. American exceptionalism has shown us that we think we're the best here in America as a Black American born and raised in the state of Florida. It's taught us that we are a product of our ancestors, and yet we're something completely different and unique at the same time. And so I implore everybody listening to me, please. I understand that politics isn't taught in schools. In fact, our governor said he won't teach it along with our history. But I implore you to take tomorrow, take some time. If you have to miss one Sunday of Sunday football, I love football too, as a diehard Jaguars fan, right? But take one Sunday to take a look at the ballot, look at the amendments, look at the charters, look at who's being elected, because these people have power over the money and in some cases, life and death. And I'm off my soapbox.
That's real.
Thank
Listen,
you.
I don't care if you, real quick, guys, y'all need to go out and vote and make sure you do your homework on the local officials, because the local officials can do more for you compared to Kamala or Donald Trump, because they can put whatever they can say whatever, but it's up to the House and the Senate to make it happen. So y'all really need to go out and vote. And Juggy has been on this soapbox since as long as I've known him. So do my brother proud. And for those of you, shout out to everybody that has early voted. Yours truly
I already did,
got
man.
that vote in.
Mm-hmm. Early voting is the key. But to follow up your point, brother, your mayoral elections are important. Your school board elections, the people trying to ban books is not the president; it's the school board. That is important. Your libraries, you need libraries, right? Our brethren who've been locked up, libraries help them get jobs. As an immigrant myself, I was at an event on Wednesday, and it was for immigrant women in New York, a nonprofit that was helping immigrant women find jobs, settle in. It was the local library that helped the women get started. These are women who couldn't speak English when they first arrived, and the library gave them resources. So the local library here provides even an app that they can use to learn, and there are people who volunteer their time to teach there. And when you have somebody who's elected in, because people don't show up to vote, and first thing he tries to do is cut the funding of the local library, it affects the migrants too. And there are some of us who say, "Oh, I got my visa, I came here, I went to the embassy, I did it right. So the people who come in from the southern border, I don't care about them. So they got to go to the embassy and suffer like I did." And then your library gets shut down, and then you're like, "Oh, my kid has nowhere to go read. My kid can't go." You now, now the problem is affecting you, but you didn't care in the first place because you think it's only about people who are not like you. But you don't realize that the problem hits closer to home. Even all the insult against Puerto Rico, the insults against Mexicans, there are black people in those places. There are black Mexicans, there are black Puerto Ricans, there are black people all over the world. There are black Russians too. There are black Ukrainians. There are black Polish people. I can show you proof of all of them. So they are black everywhere. So if you think black people haven't been insulted, you think, "Oh, it's not my problem." America affects everywhere in the world. So it's important. It's important. It's important. It's important. It's important. It hits closer to home than you think. From the lowest office to the highest office, there's a reason why they are called the public office. It's not meant for somebody to enrich themselves. We have the power to we should hold them accountable. We should be able to hold them accountable. And if we can't hold them accountable, then why we call it a kingdom? Let it have a king rule over us then. But we don't want to live in a kingdom. I've lived under military dictatorship. I've lived under 3 military rulers. One I've almost been shot by soldiers 3 times in my life. And that's not, I don't want any of you to experience that. I don't want any of you to experience it. That's a whole different podcast. But if we get into those stories, oh Lord, it's yeah. But please. Yeah.
From that, I think the genesis of growing into politics is when you start having your future, kids, the future generation. That's when it kind of hits home, because then I think you now realize that there's a difference between one, where your child goes to school, what they're learning, and then you realize that what is around you. Because I think as an immigrant, and when I came here, my first focus was to work on myself. I had to learn things around me, and I think I came around the Bush era, Al Gore Bush era, and my mindset was different. I was thinking about myself. What am I going to do? And I remember the radio station talking about politics, and I never got what it was. However, at the point at which I had kids, then I start realizing, wait a minute, these kids got to go to school. There's a type of education I want for my kids. There's a place I need to live. I'm starting to look for a house. What kind of area am I looking for? There are areas where I know, I can't get to because of some certain people. You see, that's when politics starts hitting in. And BOJ Radio, and when you started talking about the young people, you mentioned the age gap, and that's around the same age gap you find people are not yet settled. They're not getting married. They're not, they may have the idea of having kids is not really has not sank in yet. But once you pass the 30 mark and you go around the 35, yeah, things become serious. Then what your dad used to tell you now starts hitting you, and like, okay, dad used to tell me I need to go vote. But I think one thing we also need to realize is we need to take our kids to vote. When you go vote, don't make it a secret. You walk with your child, you walk with your daughter, you walk with your son, and make sure that they see you vote. They're allowed to see you actually punch in the numbers and see who you're voting for, even though it's a secret, but you just let them see, right? And that is teaching them. You are teaching them and kind of mentoring them to become voters of, if you're going to vote, whichever way you vote. But you're teaching them school council meetings, you go vote. All these things you need to show them that this is where you start. Now, I got to say another thing. I'm going to add, Raphael was talking about it. The reason why now, and this is my opinion, the reason why nowadays kids don't, or the generation doesn't feel the urge to vote, or do not feel the presence. And what happens? Raphael told you he's been shot by a soldier. I've never experienced that, but he knows it firsthand. Does his child know that? That's a fiction of, to them, it's a fiction of an imagination. They've not experienced it. People in Cuba, the first generation that came from Cuba running from Fidel Castro, really felt what was happening there because they experienced it. But their kids have no recollection. They never lived there. They've not seen that. They live in another world. But we have to figure out how to mirror this coming from way back when your grandparents tell you, hey, I witnessed slavery, I witnessed sharecropping, I witnessed this. They witnessed it. You did not. You do not have that feeling in you because it never got with you. However, when these stories are expressed to you, you need to learn and pick them up and then move forward by telling them, look, this is what happens. Yes, the kids never saw it. They'll see videos, but it doesn't click because it's not an experience. It's what you see, right? Their experience is different. But you have to show them that this is your experience, but you have to take this experience and see that, hey, I'm going to be pushed out. I'm going to be living in some neighborhood that I could have not been able, I could not be going to there if I had voted the right person, right? My kids, my future generation will go to school in a different neighborhood or I may miss some resources because of the way I vote, right? This is your experience. Now, we live in this particular neighborhood. Next time, when you're growing up, because of the way you voted, will make you live in a different neighborhood. So these are the things that we need to kind of teach our kids and try to mirror it with what had happened before, back from slavery to what it is now,
Mm.
and tell them, hey, going forward, this is how serious it is. If we can do this, and this is where we've come from to where we are, take it and take it seriously. That's my take.
Yes,
Wow.
I definitely agree with all of that. Real
Wonderful.
quick, let me introduce New Orleans finest. What up, Mr. Godfrey? Thank you for joining in today. And big shout out to Godfrey for being in my corner at the Afros and Audios podcast company the whole time. He was helping me make shit happen. Mr. Eno, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay up like a can do dreadlock. Nah, I get down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, and I know you know firsthand the importance of voting, because I heard all the shit going down in Louisiana, and I'm like, if only they had voted right, Louisiana would not be coming up with these harsh laws.
Man.
They were talking about getting rid of parole in Louisiana.
Dang.
Yo.
We already got problems here in my residence of Florida. I had to endure like some stupidity today. So thank God I voted early. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yes. Yes, thank God for early voting, because I know on Tuesday it is going to be a freaking madhouse, man. So I know it's gonna be a madhouse on Tuesday. I need you all to get out and vote. Know where your local precincts are. Know where you can go, because if you try to go downtown, the courthouse is gonna be crowded. Wherever you at. So I need y'all to go out and vote. Go to vote and rally events. Go out and make sure your voice is heard, because all of these brothers can agree that your voice is important. Because there were back in the days where Black Americans had to pay to vote, where they had to pay like $1 or something, which was a lot of money back then, because we didn't have it. And then they tested us and shit, man. Man, y'all better take y'all asses to this poll and go vote. I don't care who you vote for. Just make your voice heard.
Let me say this though.
I care.
Let me say this though. If you didn't vote, I don't want to hear your opinion whatsoever.
Thank
your
you.
opinion is completely irrelevant.
Damn right.
Yep.
I was just getting ready to say that, I was just getting ready to say that.
Yes.
Hey.
One more thing, before you get to vote early morning, the day before, you get you a big jug of water and a snack for yourself, because you're going to sit out there. And I think sometime in Texas, they were telling people that you're not allowed to give water. The volunteers are not allowed to give water.
Well, not only Texas. I think some red states. Florida also. But yeah.
In Florida, you cannot give anyone any water, any type of nourishment. It is illegal. You will get arrested, and it is a felony, not a misdemeanor. A felony to give anyone water in Florida currently, even though a judge rules it's unconstitutional. We have a governor who believes he's a dictator. So again, you guys think this is a game, and I just want to say something to piggyback off of what Eno said as he came in. Listen, after this election, if you chose not to vote, or if you happen to vote for the wrong candidate that does not serve in general your interests and your needs, when I tell you, you will feel the consequences. In front of all these gentlemen, I put on the line $500 that 2 years from now, if one of the candidates becomes president, you gonna feel it. You gonna feel it. Oh, I promise you. You gonna feel that thing. And it's not gonna be funny. It's not gonna be pretty. And guess what? Donald Trump, he got Project 2025.
Oh Lord.
He wants to dissolve the Department of Education, Department of the Environmental Department. He wants to dissolve all regulations, the Federal Trade Commission. He wants, what Raphael was talking about, he wants a kingdom, not a democracy. I'm just throwing it out there. It's on the internet, 950 some pages. You can read it for yourself. I know y'all niggas don't like to read. I'm calling y'all out. Y'all don't like to read, and they literally put it in written form, PDF, and you can do Control F to search certain words. They put it right there. And if you think the police are bad now, if they get criminal immunity, that means that they can literally beat you and your white face in, and nothing will happen.
God
You can't even hold them civilly liable.
Video all
So
you
y'all
want.
don't think voting is important? Man, don't look. I know I've been on my soapbox once already, so I'm not trying to monopolize the time, but I'm just trying to express, and black men especially need to hear this. In order to get better, we got to do better. And I'm telling you, politics is where it starts.
Let me piggyback on what
you.
Juggy said. Let me piggyback on what Juggy said, because like right before I got to the house, I just saw something like I guess one of the police officers was found guilty in the Breonna Taylor murder.
Yeah.
Now imagine that under the Trump regime again.
He ain't gonna be charged. He ain't gonna be charged. Charged with what? He gonna be given a medal of honor. Medal of honor.
Bruh, that is horrible to think about.
Medal of honor, receiver, promotion, all that shit, man.
Man, gonna get the key to what's that? What is this? Are you gonna get the key to what? Detroit, St. Louis? Where was Breonna Taylor from? Louisville. You gonna have the key to Louisville
and DC at the same time.
Hell yeah!
For no reason, for just for it, they're gonna give him DC at the same time. Come get DC at the same time. There you go. Right. The president gonna give him DC
with the pension. With the pension to retire after they get finished killing you.
Yeah. All I'm saying is,
keep in mind though, one thing, it's only for a certain color, because if you look like us and you kill somebody, you better believe they're throwing your ass in jail.
But history has always shown that it starts one way. It starts with us. But remember, because I've been to Germany, full disclosure, my partner is from Germany. And, I went to our hometown, the museum in our hometown. And that's one thing I respect Germany for. Even though now there's beginning to be slight pushback. That is the Trump effect. You begin to see it around the world. And you see all their museums, they don't hide the Holocaust. They don't hide the Nazi era. But what I like about their museums is that they show you how it started. And there's actually a good documentary on Netflix right now, Hitler and I think the trials of World War II, something like that. But that also does a good job of showing how Hitler came to rise. Hitler never won a majority in any election. Very similar to Trump. If you watch both of them, it's mad similar. Crazy how you just be like, God damn. But I digress. But that museum, watching the whole thing, you see that in the beginning, they never went after killing the Jews right away. It was people with disabilities that was the first target. That it was like, oh, these were the ones. So if, for lack of a better term, it was like, these are the niggers that we're going to go after. And so it was like, some people were like, okay, take them out. Right? I guess you can see like, well, they don't look pretty. Take these ones out. Yeah. Let's push back. And me, affecting me. And then when you're done with that, who's gonna be next? So if you're gonna take out black people, well, let's say you succeed. Guess what? There's gonna be somebody next in line. Because you're gonna be like, ain't my problem. And then when they take out the blacks, who's gonna be next? That's why you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't think they'll come for me. Oh shit, I should have said something. Guess where they've done it in? Argentina. They did it in Argentina. And that's where a bunch of them started copying. Jim Crow and the rest were like, oh, this can succeed. We should start copying it. So there's always somebody going to be next in line. They're going to be like, okay, this one's out. All right. You all right. You next. Come on. We're going to take you out next. That's why once you get started, they almost succeeded in wiping out Native Americans. They're going to be somebody next in line. Because once you blame somebody, This is who we need to wipe out.
Even Rwanda.
You once you succeed in wiping out that person, it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop. It never stops. You have to keep going. You have to keep going, because that is the excuse never ends, because that's the system of ruling. It's a system of control. And until you get to the end of the line where there's nobody left, there's only two of them left, and then papa's like a Western movie. So that is why it's dangerous to get started. You don't allow them start. But it's the last analogy I'll give. It's like, it's an analogy for white supremacy. It's like we are all in a boat with a hole in it. Everybody's in that boat, and you see the hole. The boat is about to sink, but you're like, oh, there's black people at the end of that boat, where the hole is at. So I'm not gonna bother. I'm not affected. Like they'll be the first to sink. Nigga, you're on the same boat. The boat is sinking, but yeah, but the black guy will sink first. You're still gonna drown. You're not coming out. That's the point. Because if you look back in time, didn't you see that if you check American history, what started the VA? Veterans from World War I, black and white, came together, and where's our compensation for war? Oh, and then, hey, remember you're white? You don't need to work with these niggas. Well, you're better than them. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I'm different. And then you start saying that wall came up, right? Different moments in time. Oh, you're Irish. We're not accepted as white, but you weren't accepted as white. If you were Italian, you weren't accepted as white. Go to Italy and call them white in Italy. They'll attack you in many places. Go to Greece, many places they will attack you. But once you come here and that wall starts being set up, then it changes. People forget. And that's why it's good to collect the stories and you see how it has happened over time. And you're like, what happened to your brain when that is like that boat? You start, oh, they'll sink first. And then when you're not, oh shit, I'm sinking. Oh, no. Yeah, get some, who gonna help you now? The person would have helped you, you let that person drown. That's why it's dangerous to allow black history be wiped out. And then you're like, oh shit, they come for my history. Oh, they come for gay people's history. Nigga, gay people and you the same. Everybody the same. There's no one person going to be punished without you being punished. Everybody being punished. So that's why everybody got band together and stop the evil empire. It's Star Wars, man. You see the evil empire coming and you're saying, oh, the bad guy only going to kill Han Solo and stop there. Where you see that bullshit happen? Go vote.
My take is, to piggyback on what Raphael said, it's more so if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Damn right. Oh, final thing. I do take my kids. I've been taking my kids to go vote right from when I could carry on my chest. Nah, she's too big. She needs to start carrying me, honestly. But she's just 6. But them kids strong nowadays. But yeah, because they give more stickers too when you bring your kids. You also get extra stickers now because they be like, oh, them kids cute. I'm like, I ain't cute. Look at me, I'm sexy too. What the hell are you telling me I ain't cute? Give me extra stickers. But seriously, bring your kids. My kid be asking me now, what going on? I said, voting. Oh, let's go. I said, all right, get them involved. And also from my German partner, I learned that too because her parents, they used to talk about politics around there. I'm like, damn, how y'all be talking about politics? What kind of system is this? I'll be talking politics all the time. It's not a bad thing to include your kids because our ancestors did that in the past. The kids came out all right. They ain't come out with 2 heads. Our kids gonna be fine. So teach them young. If you want them to carry the fight, because the fight never ends. Evil never dies. It falls, it slips and comes back. It keeps evolving. So the fight
is the nature of continues.
Life. Yeah, there's a yin, there's a yang. So that's it, man.
At the end of the day, it's about humanity. Racism is just a bigger distraction of envy and hatred. It's gotten to the point where if you look at this whole presidential election, it's either the old guards versus the new guards. They rather, the powers that be, the Trump supporters, they rather prefer chaos over real change. That's why the world is so divisive today.
Yeah. And I empathize with what's going on in Palestine But there's been a fighting going on in Cameroon for 5, 6 years. Nobody said shit about that. It's right next to the border from where I'm from. Ain't nobody care about that. Sudan, 10 million people displaced. That is destabilizing 5 to 6 countries, and with what Russia and UAE is doing there, it can affect Nigeria in the long run. And if Nigeria falls, that destabilizes the whole of West Africa. Nobody, you think you got immigrants coming? You got immigrants, 200 million Nigerians jump into, man, you ain't seen immigrants. Nigerians will cross, they will crush it. Man, look, there is stuff that you need. If and Joe Biden's administration had tried to stop that civil war from day one, they were involved in negotiating for a peace deal between two useless generals who just doing a dick measuring contest. But as soon as October 7th happened, you knew that there was going to, it's a far right government in Israel. It's a far right, there was going to be a response. Man, don't use what the best solution right now is not Trump. If Trump is in office, he said blow them away, blow them away.
Mm-hmm.
He moved the capital of Israel, the capital of our embassy, our United States embassy, to Jerusalem. Every president of the United States, Republican or Democrat, had not done that. That is instigating. That's the message he was saying, instigating more violence by doing that, because the next president cannot just come and remove it. That is over $500 million just for doing that. And we don't hold that useless man accountable. Orange head. That can't even run a business properly. And people are like, oh, hey, businessman, hey, this and that. And in New York area, how many people does he owe money? If I did that to more than 200 contractors, will anybody allow me run for a country? They'll be like, oh, this black nigga, he owes money up and down. You're going to see my color of my skin. People are going to be like, man, you don't trust this guy. But that dude just comes out and insults people from head to toe, and you're going to let him run the most powerful country in the world? All he sells is racism, man. I ain't seen no policy. All he promises is whiteness. Yeah. So why should a person of color vote for that guy? Why? Except you admire the whiteness, you want to be part of that whiteness. Okay, just own it. If you tell me that, honestly, I'm not going to be mad at you. But if you're going to be telling me, hey, businessman, all that bankruptcy, how many bankruptcy? Jeez.
7. Yeah. Or 7 bankruptcies.
Compared to Magic Johnson, look at his businesses. All the black businessmen, if they had so many bankruptcies, which bank will come near all the black men doing businesses? You have so many bankruptcies like that. Which bank will come near? One bankruptcy, man, get out here, man. Don't come into ban this guy from all banks. Your picture gonna be up.
Right. I think also the part when you talk about geopolitics with the U.S. This is where the U.S. has to be or has to have its hand in all the world politics, like you said, in Africa and all around. The thing is that the United States cannot stay like an island. It has to operate with other people, and that is the basis of its existence. Immigrants come to contribute, and they in turn have to look at the rest of the world. The views of what Africa is looked at when you're in the US is also the same as how the African population views the US. One thing is all these circuses that are going on and happening right now. I think to me they empower the other countries to say that as much as the US says that it's strong, yes, we believe it's strong. There's that fact that sovereignty of a state or a country has to be respected, and most countries will now come up and stand to America and say, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. There are things that they'll change in terms of policies that will affect the US. Does the U.S. Have great policies when Trump was in power, or had great policies? I don't think so. I think after Trump came into power, there was a shift in the mindset of many countries regarding how they deal with the United States. And this is where now again we go back to talking about politics. You got to go and vote. I don't know. There's also a section of the Africans, African people who I don't know what they eat, but they're not involved in the politics of US, but they still have this fixation on Trump. Like they would want Trump to win, and
I
I
can
try
explain that.
not engage.
I, I, I can explain that because I'm actually talking to some young people back home who, it's the thing is, people underestimate growing up under strong men. It's, that's all the leadership most of us have known. And I know somebody who has a show in New York here. If you have, he has been on my podcast. Why are you in New York? How did you migrate here? It's not like he wanted to move to America. It's not like he came here for any opportunities. It's because the military ruler was going to kill him. He was a journalist. He wrote satirical articles which were making fun of the military ruler. His people didn't interpret it as satire. They were like, are you making fun of the boss? And somebody licked it to him like, yeah, dude, you better run. Or if they will come and arrest you in 1 week's time. At this time, they'll be here to catch you. And why I know that was true is that I read more newspapers than my school books. I was like a history guy, but that was how I started getting into politics. From the 90s, when my mom, late 80s into the 90s, before my mom will move to the States, and I would join her in the 2000s, I used to read newspapers a lot. And there were times when, after the 93 election failed, which is still ranked as the freest and fairest election in Nigeria, you started seeing stories of this person was arrested. This in 89, we had the wording letter bomb came into my memory because a journalist received a package from the government, federal government, and that's how letter bomb was introduced to Nigerian psyche. And as a kid, I got to read letter bomb is a thing because the guy opened the package and it blew him up. You write certain things and you receive that package or they come and pick you up. And they were writing about people who that's how they disappeared. There's a guy who is called Sahara Reporters. He used to be a student union organizer, and he had to run away. And then he started his own media over here, but he always had plans to contest for presidency. So his media has kind of changed in funny ways, in between Fox News and other things. But there were people like that. They all went on exile. Even the current president, he also went on exile back then in the 90s. But he's a whole different story. A lot of guys had to run. If you didn't run, you were like, I'm going to stay. Then they came and picked you, ended up in prison. Some didn't make it out of prison. And you were reading about it. You were leaking out because people who were still part of the people coming to arrest you, some will leak information to the journalists who were supposed to be on their side. So as a kid, you don't realize that you are absorbing this type of information. You think, this is just like fun.
All right.
But you've seen some bad things, and it's not something that we want to bring over. That's kind of stuff Trump is trying to bring here.
I think the problem when it comes to Trump, and I had to realize this, society looks at him as that celebrity.
Yeah.
And they confuse celebrity with the politician. And because of his elite status, it created this Pandora's box when he won president. Because people forget, the only reason he became president because he was denied ownership of the Buffalo Bills. Now I ask y'all this: how does a person that is deemed unstable to run an NFL team, but he's stable enough to run the free world?
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. He was denied that. Yeah, that's
make that make sense.
Hold on 1 second. Vic, what you about to say?
That was a bomb. If I didn't hear one, but because I didn't know he was trying to get the presidency to run the Buffalo Bills, but it don't make no, doesn't make sense. If the NFL denied you, then why the hell is it okay for you to run the? And I'm also looking at you, black people too, telling me that hey, oh, Trump is this, Trump is that, Trump gave us some checks. Trump didn't want to give y'all them goddamn checks. Quit fucking saying that, man. Y'all
let me give you the best example. Let me give you an alley-oop right quick, Vic. And you'll probably I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but I had to realize this yesterday. Trump supporters tolerate Trump the same way niggas tolerate Lil Boosie.
Oh, damn! And this is somebody
Think
from
about
Louisiana, man.
Oh, man.
Think about that. Think about that.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I'm not even trying to be funny, but think about that. Outside the skin tone. What's the difference between Boosie and Donald Trump?
God damn.
I hope Boosie not a child molester.
well, Bush said he took his kids to a strip club. So, yeah.
Yeah, he did say.
I mean, Boosie did say he paid the stripper to get his son's dick sucked.
He
I
said
forgot about that.
That's his own words. So
yeah, that happened.
Yeah, so I'm gonna switch to this. I got a draw.
Yes.
That's why he defended Diddy.
Yes.
Hey, and it was
man, who ain't Boosie defending? He was defending R. Kelly. He was defending Diddy. I'm like, God damn, Boosie. Thanks. Were you at the Diddy club? Were you at the party with the Diddy parties with the 1,000 baby oil? I mean,
hey, bro.
Now.
See,
a nigga had his phone. A nigga had his phone by the door, and Meek Mill was getting clapped up.
See,
man, but that makes sense though, because Boosie was talking about some. I'll give $1,000. Show you. That actually makes sense.
Man.
You know what? You know what, man? One thing the last couple years taught me first with R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, you know what I'm saying? And now the Diddler. Listen, man. And the Epstein. Hey, listen. If it's not imperative before to protect your kids, and the fact that we got stuff that other people don't, melanin worth more than gold. So a PSA to all the fellas out there, watch your kids. Watch your kids. You got to check everybody, even family.
Damn right.
Watch your kids. Because guess what? It's monster. Me and my wife and I, we was watching sort of like a documentary style video. And these men own this biotech company, and they were recruiting young black women because they had the Eve gene, and they try to manipulate the Eve gene so they don't grow old.
Oh man!
And I'm just letting you know.
I think I know what you're talking about, but continue.
And the point of what I'm trying to make is, it's the men's only round, and this was a little different when it was passed in a good way. But y'all got to realize, like, when kids go missing, you know who disproportionate kids be missing? It's black children.
That's right. That's right.
When you go to Walmart, when you first walk in and right across from the carts, you see a big bulletin board with all the missing kids. Most of the time, the kids be black. I didn't say all of them. But most of the time, the kids be black. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to get into all that. The point I'm trying to say is, fellas, I want us to take responsibility because we have leadership roles that only we can fulfill. I'm not saying women can't do stuff. That's not what I'm saying. Don't misconstrue, twist my words. What I'm saying is there are things that we need to be able to do for our society to function the way that it was originally designed. And to taking care of our kids, taking care of our communities, we have to do a better job. As black men, there are a lot of us who do that, but there's a lot of us who don't. And the ones who do, we got to start keeping accountable the ones who don't.
Yes.
Real talk. We got to start holding each other accountable because it's not going to get any better until we do. Everybody got to answer to somebody. The president got to answer to somebody. Elon Musk got to answer to somebody. Everybody got to answer to somebody, except God. So
God answered me.
watch your kids. I'm sure Raphael, you can tell. Watch your kids.
Damn right. I agree on that.
Yes.
I agree.
Y'all
Bottom
heard what
line.
Kendrick said. Kendrick told them this way. Kendrick told y'all on that disc. He told y'all.
Oh
Black
yeah.
African Americans are the most influential race in the world.
I agree.
The moment we stop surviving and start living, we can actually be where we're supposed to be.
For real.
Yeah, that's a given. No,
And I'll leave this lesson, and I think everybody can agree. The problem with us, and I'm actually going to work on a book on this, and I'll talk about it behind the scenes, but one of the main lessons I wanted to talk about is we as Black people, from a societal standpoint, we know we're the most influential race in the world. We need to stop seeking white people's approval.
The white gaze ain't going to save you. The white gaze we don't need the white gaze. I don't need the white gaze for anything I do. I don't need.
But that's the problem. We're so busy seeking their approval when they don't realize I had to learn this looking at through history. They've always been infatuated with us. They just had the right. They just had the right and the privilege to get away with what they've been doing for centuries.
But it's actually more recently. If you look at history, it's a very recent thing.
That's true.
Because we've been around for a long. The world's been around for a long time. It's just what 1600s.
1601.
Yeah.
1601.
Yeah.
But to your point, Bo, about
real quick,
sorry, go ahead, Victor.
I'm gonna come back to you. Sambaza, he just let me. He got to get out of here. Tell people where they can find you at.
Is he on me?
Y'all can find me anywhere at Sambaza Podcast. Like I said, we are always on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're live with Woke by Accident, the collaborative. But Sambaza Podcast is available anywhere. Just hit me up if you need to do a talk or collaborate with me. I'm open for collaborations and we can have conversations. As I say, Sambaza Podcast. Right now, we're trying to hit more subscribers on YouTube, so I'll be watching y'all. I need to see subscribe. It'll tell me if you subscribe. So thank you so much for having me, man. I enjoyed this conversation. So till next time, we'll continue this.
All right. All right, we'll do Sambaza. Hey, anytime you're ready for me to come on, you just let me know. Me or one of the fellas, you let me know when you want us to come on. You just let me know. And thanks for coming on Look and Talk tonight.
Have a good night, Sambaza.
Hey, Raphael, what was your last point?
My brother's point about black men stepping up, it reminded me of, I do volunteering, and there was one time, at first I just started, it was part of my way of getting out of my depression, and when I started mental health treatment, and I didn't take it seriously at first. It was just fellow way to meet other veterans, hang out with them, and get free food, especially after I moved to New York City. And I went to an event in the Bronx, and it was with teenage kids from a school with a financial firm, and they were they asked my veteran group to provide veterans, and the veterans are coming from the firm. And I realized when I got there, I was the only black veteran that showed up. All the other veterans came from the financial firm, and they were of different ethnicities, but I was the only black guy there. And the school that we were working with, they were teenagers. They were I think high school age. Yeah, high school age. And all the kids were excited to see me. Like all the kids just like as soon as they, oh, you're a veteran, like all of a sudden, it's like all the kids just turned towards me, boys and girls. And then they started asking me questions like, oh, they heard I was in my final year of college. I was about to graduate. So while we're doing the project, all the kids started coming up to me like, how do you know what you want to study? Oh, you really in college? You in the military? And man, they were hitting me with questions. I was like, damn. But that was like the first time it dawned on me like, wow, this is important for me to come out here and be volunteering. Because if I hadn't showed up today, I don't know if these kids would have been comfortable talking to these other guys. And I'm not saying those guys were bad or anything, but they saw a kinship. They saw somebody who looked like them. And they were more relaxed to talk to me. And since then, I've done, like even today, earlier in the day, I was doing my volunteering in my neighborhood because I realized I never did volunteer in my neighborhood. And my kid, she doesn't come with me all the time, but today she wanted to come and she was just playing on her own. It's like she doesn't have to do everything. But when she's ready, she came up to me like even 4 years ago. One time she came with me and she was playing because we have stuff for kids to play with. And then she ran up to me and said, Papa, I want to do what you're doing. The kids, that's the fastest way kids learn is they copy what they see right in front of them. And I've heard from other people during volunteering, or they're doing something, they're playing by themselves, men doing stuff, and a kid walks up to the man. They're watching you. They're always watching us. We think kids do not watch us. We do not. They watch us. We are the example. So it's very important that, we might think we are nobodies. We might think, oh, I don't have $1 million in our accounts. I don't have that. I don't have the big car or all that kind of thing. But to some kid, you are the coolest thing they've ever seen in their life. And they want to, I want to be like you. And they don't know how to ask you that question. They don't know how to approach you until one day they might get that courage and come up to you and then you'll be like, damn, this kid has been watching me all this time. Wow. So if I'd been setting the wrong example, that kid would have been like, oh, this is the way to go. So that's why my brother's point about men, black men setting the way forward. We do. So it's why no matter where I am, it's not like I only wear suit and tie 24/7. No, I be myself. I try to be my authentic self, but I try to make sure anywhere I am, I'm approachable, especially by the younger ones. And when they come up to me, I let them know, hey, I've made mistakes. I'm not perfect. I don't sell that perfection. Perfection is not the key. However, if you have questions, hey, feel free to reach out. And if I don't have the answer, it's something I learned from the Navy. Victor might be the person you need to talk to. Well, my brother here might be the person. I put you in touch with the person who will have the answer for you. And it's something that we should encourage each other to do and help move the community forward.
Yes. We should do all those things. We're definitely going to keep pushing it, and we'll definitely have these conversations. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you on that note. I want to thank you all for joining me on this month's Men's On. Everybody, I hope y'all get out and vote if you haven't done so already. And if you didn't vote, please kindly shut the fuck up, because we certainly don't care what you guys say if you didn't take your ass out to the polls and go vote. All right, Juggy, how can the people get in touch with you?
Right now, you can find me on YouTube and on TikTok at BOJ Radio. I actually, excuse me. Wow, I'm going back in time. At Book of Clarity on TikTok and YouTube. Book of Clarity. I've been inactive for a while. However, the content that actually is on there is more relevant than ever. So definitely check that out. I appreciate all the support. Vic, we're brothers to the end. Thank you for another wonderful Men's Only round, bro.
Hey, no, for being the co-captain. Godfrey, how can the people get in touch with you, man?
Appreciate you, my good man. Yeah. Holler at me on Instagram. Holler at me on Instagram, 504R_self-made. TikTok 504. YouTube, the Wildest Finest. I want to give a shout out to my dog Victor. Appreciate the invite to Afros and Audios, man. It was a good outing. Shout out to my Detroit babe Maria. Hey Maria, classic weekend is going down, bro.
Hey, Yes, Godfrey, I'll definitely pull up in Orlando. We'll discuss that. And also, we might have to pull up to Detroit when it's not snowing in Detroit. Raphael, how can the people get in touch with you, man? Hey, he said he got a Detroit baby, so he might never know. He might got a friend. She might got a friend. So hey.
Yeah, I gotta pull up to Detroit too, but when it's not snowing, I agree with you on that. Yeah, you can find me at www.whitelabelamerican.com. However, I need to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so please subscribe to my YouTube too, so I can get some extra bread. I also have a Patreon, so yeah, if you want to support me on Patreon, whitelabelamerican.com. Just White Label American Pod on Patreon. Yeah, just find me there. Yeah, and I'll follow you all too. So give me some subscribers. So that's all. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Yes, you subscribe to me. We
definitely.
Hey, y'all.
My goal
y'all
is to be like Vic and get flued out.
Hey, nothing wrong with being a kept man, man. I love that.
We working on that. Hey, anybody listen to this, y'all want to fly one of us out, y'all holler at me.
Hey, I don't mind being a boyfriend number 2.
Hey, I don't mind.
My dog Raphael said he getting that frontier love.
Hey, my wife downstairs wondering what he said. Well, it wasn't me.
Hey, wifey, we good, wifey, we good. Hey, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for checking out this month's Men's Only Round. Thank you for pouring up with us on the Liquor Talk. Until the next episode, thank y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.